very excited to be having this conversation with Nthabi, who is Managing Director of Ditau Interiors. Her work as MD and interior designer for her business has landed her projects with top CEOs, African royalty, five-star hotels, governor of the Reserve Bank, and presidents across the African continent. I mean, I hope that gives you some context as to why I'm excited to have a conversation with Nthabi about being a mom, being a writer, success, money, and challenges. My name is Luthando Mzilikazi, and I am a sales manager here at 91. Nthabi, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Luthando. Such a pleasure to be here today.
Nthabi, I mean, we all know you today as a successful entrepreneur, but you actually were an employee at some point in your life. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about you landing the first job that you actually really wanted with your first interview. Talk to us a little bit about the people that actually helped you prepare for that in your upbringing.
Well, there's actually two paths that I took. There's a dream job, obviously, that I landed once I was qualified as an interior designer. Then there are other menial life-preparing career jobs that I took on. I worked at my parents' service stations. I worked at my mother's spaza shops, nothing very glamorous. I remember at one stage I was the teddy bear at one of their garages at Christmas, dead heat of KZN, welcoming people, burning in my teddy bear outfit. I tried to be an air hostess. I couldn't lose the weight. You know, there's so many things that you try before you get the job. And I just want other ladies and other people who are trying to start their own career to be aware of that, to say you just don't jump into your career. There's a path that you got to go to. I tried to work in a call center for, just failing dismally while I looked for the job that would suit and fit me.
So from where I'm standing, it sounds like you owe that teddy bear suit and that call center job an annuity payment for life for helping you set up.
I do, because all the jobs, as menial as I thought they were, prepared me for the business of the business, you know. They prepared me for the industry, because you can't learn from your first job. Every job counts. You learn how to show up. You learn how to teamwork. You know how to serve this industry when you're at a call center, how to deal with clients. All of that prepared me so that when I was in my dream job, I was ready to shine.
Beautiful. Okay, so it sounds like there was a lot of influence from your previous jobs in terms of building you up from your skill-based perspective for your first job. Talk to me about the people along that journey, you know, people in your household, in your community. And from a financial lens, what was the money story and how did that influence your own money story leading you to your first job?
That's so interesting. As a black girl growing up in Soweto, your role models become your family and your immediate surroundings. And I had superstar parents. You know, people joke that my dad was basically like raising Venus and Serena Williams, because his dedication and focus on his kids went so deeply rooted. We were never allowed to sleep in. You had to have a task. You had to be doing something, be it cleaning the roof, be it doing the garden, and all of those teach you how to show up in life. So it's not necessarily saying role models for the job you're going to get, but role models for life skills. And that was very important for us. So my parents, my dad was a truck driver. He had to leave school at standard 9 because he had to take care of his 3 siblings and work at night. So he did standard 9 and standard 10 at night. And that teaches you resilience. My mother was a nurse. She belonged to numerous Stokvels. She sold Tupperware. She sold AMC pots. She knitted. She sewed. So I saw the multi-industries that they were doing just to make sure that we could get by at home. And those skills prepared me to say, when I get to work, I'm not going to just single-mindedly focus on whatever career path I was going to take. When something drops, you must be always ready to pick up with something else. And that's what they did, to say, we have one income each, but we're going to find other ways to substitute that and make sure that we can provide for our family the lifestyle that our kids need to be accustomed to.
Wow, so a household filled with entrepreneurial spirit is what I'm actually getting.
Absolutely.
You obviously had no choice really to not become an entrepreneur, you know, having grown up like that.
Well, it's different because I have 2 siblings and I'm in the middle, and we all fell at different parts of what we learned from our parents. So I learned resilience, I learned entrepreneurship. I was like, I'm going for it, I'm jumping, I don't need anything to be waiting for me to land. My older brother was like, hell no. I need to be employed, I need medical aid, I need a petrol card. I need surety. My younger brother, who stayed on to see the journey of my parents, the real struggle, by that time we had left home, he was like, there must be an easier way to this. So his method is, Work smart, not hard.
Got
He went
you.
into investment banking, you know what I mean? So we all learn something. When you see your parents or when you see your mentors, you pick up something that's not necessarily only what they're showing. So 3 kids, we had all different experiences of that upbringing.
So this is also honesty hour. So I'm assuming that, in all of your mom's entrepreneurial endeavors, she spent a lot of time away from home as well.
Yes.
So you had all the time to actually have a look at her interior designing skills.
Yeah.
At what age did you realize your mom's couch probably didn't match her curtains as much as you thought
Oh,
it should?
oh. I wouldn't be the designer that I am today.
Right.
Because my mother was beyond an interior designer. She had a lifestyle that she created around her home. How she served people, how she served tea, how we ate at the dining table, And I remember early on when they were celebrating, I think, 10 years of marriage, she insisted on an island kitchen in Soweto. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So she had style, she had grace, and it wasn't only her. My dad also did his part because he kept a beautiful garden. He played music. All of those things led to me now understanding what a lifestyle is or what it takes to create a lifestyle for my clients. It's not only decorating or interior design. It's the way people are going to live and experience that home, which I saw from my parents. And at that stage, we were living with my grandparents. So there was a 4-roomed home in Rockville, Soweto, but they had parquet flooring. There was a chandelier in my lounge. There was a wallpaper, flocking wallpaper, so I could touch it and have a 3D experience. So already my taste buds for interior design were very high and very piqued by the way we lived at home.
Right. That's so inspiring and actually eye-opening because it actually just took me back to the experiences between me and my mom.
Yeah.
I think one other question around your parents and how they groomed you to become who you are today is probably around something I read in your book, where you said one of the challenges you experienced as a young girl child was that you were an average D student at school. Talk to me about their role in still, despite that, molding you to becoming the person that you are today.
I'm so glad you say average D because I was more like the low, low
DE.
D. By the grace of God, give her a D. And that was because, you're an artistic child and creative children at that stage of high academia weren't catered for in the schooling system. So we battled to be recognized for our natural talent because we were not excelling at maths. We were not excelling at science. And I remember my school that I went to was very clear about this. There was the A class, B class, C, D. I think I was always between D and G, D and F. And by that time, the teacher's so exhausted by the time they get you a class.
Right.
They're like, guys, go do your homework, bye, good luck. Because they focused on the A class. So I wasn't only a D student, I was also in the D class. It was a really bad combination of academic nightmare. Only in grade 10, when you could choose our subjects, and I went home and I was like, what should I do? Everybody was like, choose art. Go to technical drawing. Do whatever, just leave math and science alone. Or don't focus on those. And that's where my support came from. So even though that the schooling system didn't recognize me for who I was recognized and honored at home. Our parents knew every single child and they nurtured us in that environment that you were in. They didn't try and make me a marketing director. They didn't try and make me an investment banker.
Right.
They were aware of everybody has to have their own spotlight to shine. So they saw that I had a keen interest on interior design and decor. And my father found a shop in town that sold magazines in kilograms, you know what I mean? So he would buy me a stack of interior design magazines for me to disappear in. So even though the world of academia was tough on me, at home, I was okay. So every time I went out, I was, a little bit bossy because I was just like, my parents love me, I'm good.
It's a beautiful version of having a silver spoon in your mouth, one that's quite emotionally supportive and loving.
Absolutely.
And, that's probably played a very big role in who you've become today. Let's now fast forward to life of Nthabi as an adult, as an entrepreneur and mom. I'm sure early on in your entrepreneurial journey, you experienced so many challenges that called on you to have actually probably a multiple assortment of mentors. One of which that you mention in your book, and you actually have a whole chapter on her, is Karen. Tell us a little bit about Karen, and let's sort of focus more on the financial tips she's given you in your entrepreneurial journey that has propelled you forward.
Karen almost felt like the final cleanup to my diamond, bringing out of the diamond in me.
Right.
Because my parents had prepared us for the industry, for anything in commerce, Karen prepared me to say, how do you deal with people in business? You know, how do they remember your name? How do you create relationships? Because you're not just transacting, you're not just spending money on each other, you're engaging with people. So she played that focus of saying, care. When's your birthday? How's your wife doing? How are the kids at school? In that way, ensuring that at that time we were delivering on high-end hotels with crazy deadlines, ensuring the supplier then, because we showed that we cared about them, could prioritize our order. So those are the skills that you don't necessarily read about in textbook or learn in class. It's something you almost have to experience on the ground. And for somebody who didn't even know in her chapter in my book that she was a mentor to me, she just did it instinctively.
Right.
You know, she took a girl and she said, listen, follow me. How she answered the phone, how she'd introduce herself to people. And just for me being hungry enough and a huge sponge just to suck it all in, to say, I'm learning from this lady. I'm learning things I didn't learn in my creative world. Interior design. I didn't learn from seeing my parents hustle. This grace, this aura, this class is something that you can't even put monetary value to it, but it makes sure that you stay in the business. Anybody can open a door for you.
Right.
You have to have the grace to stay in. And that's what Karen showed me.
So now let's give it a little bit of a financial spin, you know. So you've spoken a lot about how she helped you as an entrepreneur and introducing yourself and making sure that you have a memorable mark on the hearts of your
Absolutely.
potential clients
Yes.
and clients. In terms of your financial pocket, in terms of preparing a legacy for your son, what tips has she actually shared with you along the journey?
Girl, Karen was like, let's spend. Let's spend. You know, I think we forget that in interior design, we have a very glamorous, or what's perceived as glamorous
Right.
job. And Karen's financial standing at that point were as messy as mine. The hard knocks of life showed me that I needed professionals beyond the artists advising me on finances. Artists cannot advise artists. That is the truth of the game. So luckily for me, I had a left angel and a right angel in terms of my siblings.
Right.
You know, there was a corporate one who would be like, you don't have a car? How are you going to get to clients? How are you going to see people? And then there was an investment banker one always saying, be brave, be bold, take that move, jump, save. What is your nest egg? What do you mean you're living hand to mouth? What do you mean you don't have a project for next year? You know, so that there was always a calculating support from different elements. And when it did dismally fail, I wasn't shy enough to not return home. I was home at least 3 times in my career, just like lost the car, lost the house. So it wasn't MBA studies. We were the case studies for the MBA students, just learning as we fell. And Karen, by the time that she was working at the job or at the company I was working, she had failed at her own companies.
Right.
She had failed at her own businesses. She had tried retail, didn't work. And she had the wisdom to say, actually, for this time while I regroup, let me be employed.
Right.
While I repay my debt, while I sort out my savings, while I sort out my retirement, because she was much more older than me. Where can I go to support me in that journey of understanding what my career has done for me? And I was always aware of those people. I was aware of my parents stretching themselves in what they were doing and not being able to physically cope with the hard work, laborious work, and the strain it was taking on them, on their health, not being able to exercise, not being able to have yoga moments and center themselves and wearing themselves out so that you couldn't show up for work
Right.
properly. Because just to assume that finances must be working out, you got to understand the background of the person and what they needed to support them in the industry to carry on. And mine was, my brother, I need your car. My sibling, I need investment. I happened to be a single mom at a point I wasn't expecting it in my career. That was a huge shock. I didn't have jobs lined up, you know, and suddenly realizing that being pregnant at home, you can't work. Is your money working for you?
Right.
Have you had the foresight to save for the rainy day? What does a rainy day look like to an artist? You know, because to us sometimes it feels like it's raining every day. Nobody's necessarily going to buy your creativity. So you've always got to make sure that you save more than a corporate would have, you know, because the rainy days are long. When you're in your creative box or zone, you forget that there's bills to be paid, mortgages to be sorted out, cars to be paid. So there's always that starving artist mentality that you're living in and fighting to say, it can't be that. There needs
Right.
to be an investment. There needs to be money working as I sleep. So that started becoming the wisdom of where I started growing from. And I think motherhood brought me like that. Because if I didn't have somebody else to look after, I'd be somewhere starving and just drawing and choosing color. So there came a responsibility to the finances I had to build and what I was preparing to get me to that road.
Right. It sounds like your son has had a very impactful role around
Absolutely.
carving out your money narrative as an adult.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. So I am assuming that your money is worth 91 that you're saving for your son?
You are assuming correctly. Not out of my own wisdom, out of the investment bank brother, who just was
Right.
like, listen. And we did it very early on because we didn't have parents who planned for us. They were just making sure they gave us the experiences and the wisdom and the understanding to stay in business. My younger brother is making sure you stay in business. You create a
Right.
legacy, not for this generation, for 5, 7 generations to come. Let your money outlive you, creative soul. And that's a very important thing to teach a creative.
Right, and almost like creating a legacy for yourself
Yes,
while you're
ma'am.
alive that allows you to go and do your yoga, go and do your trips as your money works for you.
And most importantly, also to be able to enjoy my craft. Because if you're a starving artist and concerned about money, the creativity gets blocked. But if you know your money is taken care of, if you know you're 91 and investment is working for you, you shine, you bloom in your creativity.
I hope all the creatives out there are actually listening quite attentively.
Yes.
One last question, Tab, and it is a little bit of a tough one, but what is a Q&A session without a tough question, right?
All right.
So a lot of women watching, including myself, have decorated their homes for so many years, and yet we don't get paid for it. You get paid for it. So what is that special touch that you think your clients have adapted a sense of confidence around paying you for that service that you think you have that a typical woman at home doesn't?
First of all, let's congratulate the woman who understands that whatever they do is their natural creativity. And us as creatives, that's how we tap into it. We go for what we love and we make people pay us for it. So in the same way, I would visit a chemist and get Corenza, Advil CS, or whatever to treat my child, does not make me a doctor. Right? Somewhere along the line, you still have to get expert advice. And us who are trained and are empowered in that profession are there to lead that. But it doesn't stop anybody from home to say, because it's art, art, there is a natural creativity to it, and there's also being taught the scale, the proportion, the engineering behind what we do. And everybody is welcome in the industry. If you can tap in to what you're good at and turn it into an industry, and most of the successful women in business started from home. I was a housewife. People started commenting on my lunch boxes that I did for my kids. So I decided, let me start a business from that. So it's something that you do naturally that sometimes you can't pick up from yourself, but others see in you, and you turn that into a business and hopefully have a success in it.
While saving.
While
Nthabi,
saving.
I'm so sorry, but we've run out of time. But I must say, halala Sisi, thank you so much.
Thank you so
You have
much.
really been successful at crafting a career and an entrepreneurial journey for yourself in a space where you actually didn't see that modeled for you as a child, and you still stuck to your guns even when challenges actually came your way. So thank you so much for being a role model to all of
Thank you,
us.
Luthando. Thank you, much appreciated.
I hope Nthabi's honest depiction of her story, career, and money has actually inspired all of us today to deep inside our own interiors to actually find the dream that you really had and leverage off of that to form a multitude of income streams in addition to your corporate job if you have one. For now, I do say, let us go out and actually build out those dreams into reality as if the universe has already said yes. Ladies, let's go forth and conquer.